Welcome to the Healthpreneur podcast. My name is Yuri, New York Times bestselling author, former professional athlete, and founder of Healthpreneur, the world's leading company helping health and fitness experts start and scale high-end coaching businesses. If you want to attract more clients, learn how to convert them without feeling salesy, and deliver an amazing program for them on the back end, if you want to be inspired by what others just like you have gone through and how you can do the same no matter what life throws your way, then you are in the right place, because every single week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're going to be bringing you the best to help you take your knowledge and expertise to the next level with your health or fitness coaching business. And if you enjoy what you see and hear and would like to take your business to the next level, then I invite you to check out our free online training over at healthpreneurgroup.com/training. And for now, let's get into today's episode. What's going on, guys? Yuri here. Welcome back to the show. Just got back from Puerto Rico. Well, as of this recording, not too sure when you're listening to this. I want to share 3 really cool lessons that I got from being in Puerto Rico. And I wasn't just there on a vacation. I was actually there speaking at a pretty high-level mastermind that my good friend Mark Wade was hosting. And Mark is the co-founder of the American Posture Institute. He's built out some really cool stuff also in the business-to-business space, helping health experts with virtual summits and so forth. Really, really awesome guy. So he does this mastermind every year and brings in about 30 or so high-level people, not just in the health space, but also in different endeavors that are doing great things in their online businesses. So he asked me to come speak a couple months ago. I'm like, yeah, for sure. I'm happy to do so. Plus, I've never been to Puerto Rico, so pretty cool to check that out. By the way, really cool place. So I was there with some people you might have heard of. Jeff Walker, the founder of Product Launch Formula. He's kind of the godfather of all these online launches you've seen over the years. He's the guy who started that whole thing. So he was there, got to hang out with him. My good friend Todd Herman, who I've known for a long time, who's the author of The Alter Ego Effect, the creator of the 90-Day Year. He is a high-performance coach for Fortune 500 CEOs, Olympic and pro athletes. Really, really smart guy. He was there as well. Shah Wasmond, who's a 3-time New York Times bestselling author, was formally given a really cool award from the Queen of England for her incredible work with entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs specifically in the UK. Zach Benson, who's like this Instagram ninja, who's like collectively got 12 million followers on Instagram between his accounts. He's now been contracted by Dubai to help them with their social engagements in terms of like Dubai tourism and so forth. So some really, really high level people. And you know, not only was I able to present and share some of the things that have worked well for us in our business, but I was also able to connect with some amazing people to learn from them. So I want to share 3 really big things with you right here. I think you'll find them rather helpful. So first thing is, one of the things that Jeff Walker talked about, which I thought was really, really interesting, was he talked about the higher up you go in business, right? The more personal development you need. And I thought this was a really interesting insight. I've actually never thought of it that way. And it makes a lot of sense, because initially when you get started in your business, naturally your mind, your mindset is going to be a big factor in terms of moving through self-doubt, worry, etc. But all of that is usually handled through execution, right? And obviously you have to go through some stuff. But here's the thing, is that the higher up the scale you get, the higher up in business you get, it's no longer so much about tactics and strategies. It's really about being able to push yourself mentally beyond what you think is possible or what you're used to. One of my former coaches, Dan Sullivan, always said, what got you out of Egypt won't get you to the promised land, which means that what got you to this level is probably not going to get you to the next level. And I think there's obviously a little bit of wiggle room there, but for the most part, there are nuances, there are new things you need to learn to move to the next level. So for instance, you can go from 0 to, I would say, probably $500,000 by yourself, easily. Especially with a higher end coaching model, you can go to $500,000 by yourself, no problem. as you approach $1 million in revenue, you're probably going to look at having one or two other people on your team to support you. As you get above $1 million, you're starting to build out your team. You start becoming more of a leader instead of a hustler and a marketer. And this is a big shift that I've had to make over the past year or so, year and a half. And it's a continual evolution for myself, because my tendency is to drive the business, is to be like the marketer, for instance, because that's kind of what I've always done. But I know in order for me to really scale, and I'm not talking about like just adding an extra $100,000 a year, but really doubling our business year after year, I need to really build out a great team. Now, a lot of this you could say, well, yeah, like you're developing new skill sets and learning how to be a better leader, but all of this comes down to mindset, right? It's being able to think differently, to look at situations differently, to no longer look at yourself as the I have to do everything type of person. So you start developing new skill sets to hire, to bring leaders in your team and so forth. And if you think of pro sports for as an example, so when you look at an athlete, there's a really big growth curve, right? So there's skill acquisition when you're very young. You continue to develop skills and so forth, and obviously a lot of game repetition and so forth in your teens. Some go from club level to collegiate level. They play NCAA or CIS if they're in Canada, and then the select few are able to go pro. And at the pro level, you can only get to the pro level if you're very good, right? So technically, skill-wise, you're there. So if there are thousands of pro athletes, like what really makes the difference between the top, like the real top athletes? And I'll use the example of tennis, right? Tennis, if you're lucky, tennis is a very unique sport because there's only, I would say, well, to be in the top 100, you've got to be a very good player. But then there's this other level, which is in the top 4, right? We're talking about the Novak Djokovic's, Rafa Nadal's, Roger Federer's, like those, and usually like Murray, but he's kind of toast now. If we look at just those 3 guys, Rafa, Roger, and Novak, those are arguably 3 of the best tennis players of all time. Collectively, they have won more Grand Slams than all other tennis players. Like, it's not even close, right? In the modern era. Novak Djokovic, as of this recording, is on a tear. Like, the kid's unstoppable. Like, he's a kid. Obviously, he's in his 30s, but he's unstoppable. And what's interesting is when he was in his early 20s, he was a bit of a loose cannon. So he was a bit of a jokester, not really taking things too seriously. He had the talents, but his head wasn't screwed on properly. And he went through a lot of ups and downs over the past couple of years, took some time off, didn't know what the heck he was going to do, if he was going to come back to the sport or not. And then he had some type of, I don't even know what happened, but like it was a big 180-degree shift. And when he came back, he was untouchable. Like he was winning everything. And I think if he keeps on this pace, he'll be the most crowned in terms of Grand Slams out of any tennis player of all time if he keeps up with this pace over the next few years. So what's the difference? Did his tennis game change? Did he better forehand, better serve? I mean, minuscule, right? He changed the way he serves a little bit, but the big thing was in his mind, right? So he continued to evolve and grow and build his mindset to an infinite level, because I believe, think about it this way, your physical capacity it's limited. Like, you can only get so much stronger. You can only get so much more endurant. You can only get so much faster. But mentally, what's the limit? It is there is no limit. How far you can take your ability to get into the zone, to appreciate and have gratitude and all this kind of stuff. Like whatever those mindset shifts need to be made, there is limitless possibilities for how much you can grow internally. But if we look at Usain Bolt as a sprinter, how much faster can Usain Bolt really get? Like millimicroseconds? I don't even know if that's a word. But it's the performance improvements from a physical standpoint are so small. But mentally, it's untapped. So long story to come back to this whole idea of the better you get, the more you grow in your business, the more you have to grow into, like, personally. And here's the cool thing, is that your business growth always lags behind personal growth. Okay, so if you want to grow your business, you need to grow yourself first. And that's a really, really important takeaway. And that's why, hopefully this podcast is being of service to you to help you do that. Second thing is you need to be surrounded by other people who are big thinkers and who are playing life at big levels. So Jeff Walker has a mastermind, and I was like, dude, some of the stuff he was sharing is amazing. His members, he's got about 35 members in his Platinum Plus group. 9 years they've been in his group. 9 years. And I'm thinking to myself, that is unbelievable. And I asked him, how do you, what's the secret sauce here? It's amazing. I would love to have my mastermind members stay with me for 9 years. That would be a dream come true. And, he talked about it being about community and doing all that stuff. And, he said, I think part of it is when you're in a group with other people who you just want to be better because you're around them, naturally you want to be around those people more often. So it's like if you lived, and this is a great example. Let me give you a really good analogy of this. So when I lived outside the city, so we moved out to a small town called Port Perry. We lived there for 5 years when we started having kids. And it's a small town of 9,000 people, about an hour outside Toronto. Really nice little town, historic little town, really cool. But the thing is, our next door neighbor, he had a pickup truck that was on his lawn, right? He'd sit out on his front porch with a beer and his tank top, belly hanging out. So just kind of get that image in your mind, okay? Now, is that the type of environment that is going to inspire you to grow big? And when I say grow big, I'm not talking about necessarily monetarily, but just you become your environment. And when I continue to see that, I'm like, I don't want to see this stuff on a daily basis. And that was one of the big reasons why we moved back to the city. Because where we live in Toronto, we live in one of the most affluent areas in Toronto. It is phenomenal. I mean, I go walking around and I feel completely inspired every single day. People have money. Not that money is making people better or not, but when you have access to resources, you just have a nicer home, your landscaping is done properly. And this is inspiring because I would rather be surrounded by that than somebody sitting on their front porch drinking a beer in their tank top. You know what I'm saying? So when you are in a group with other people that are just playing life at a bigger level, you are naturally going to evolve with them. And this is one of the most important lessons I can just hopefully impart on you. I think I've said this 1,000 times in this podcast over the last 100 episodes or so, is your environment is arguably the most important determinant of your success, right? People say that, you become the reflection of the 5 people you hang around with the most. Whether or not it's 5 or 6 or 10, who cares, right? But the idea is human beings are social in nature, and we will do whatever we can to fit in with the tribe. Because if we don't, then we're gonzo. That's just wired into our brain. So if you are in a mastermind group, or if you have the opportunity to go to events where other people are, doing great things in their business, naturally, you want to keep up. And it's not about keeping up with the Joneses and doing all this kind of stuff that you don't want to do. It's about being inspired. It's about being lifted up. It's about borrowing other people's beliefs and borrowing their courage to become a better version of yourself. Because I really believe the pursuit of money, the pursuit of being a millionaire or a billionaire is a really, really worthwhile endeavor, because it forces you to become a better version of yourself. As we talked about in the first tip, is the more you grow in business, the more you have to develop personally. So just if we use deductive reasoning, logic, the more you make, the better you have to become, right? There's a very different level of capability and mindset in terms of mental toughness, emotional toughness, outlook on life, all that kind of stuff. Very different between someone who's making $30,000 a year and someone who's making $3 or $300 million a year. And that's why I continually say you have to do whatever you can to make a lot of money, because you are forced to become a better person in that journey. And the best way I've known to do this is just to get into environments with other great people. And that's why, I run a mastermind. I'm currently part of 2 masterminds. I've been part of masterminds and coaching groups since 2010. I've spent over $500,000 on my own coaching and development. I think it's important, right? Because as a coach, how can you expect people to pay you money as a coach if you aren't doing that yourself, right? Like, it's just so incongruent. So a lot of times, before 2010, for 3 years when I started my business online, I thought I could do everything by myself. I'm going to sit behind my computer and I'm going to crack the code. It didn't happen. The big pivotal moment in my business happened when I made the decision to start going to live events. So I went to 3 events at the beginning of 2010, hired my first coach from one of those events, and that was really the inflection point in my business. So I want to encourage you and I want to challenge you to think to yourself, what events do I need to be getting to surround myself with other great people, right? Not just the coach, like not just the person like myself who's going to help you, guide you, etc., but the people in the room, right? Because those are going to be your colleagues, your friends, etc., and they should be able to lift you up as well, right? The rising tide should float all boats. So again, if you're interested, we have our Toronto Mastermind coming up June 26th and 27th. If you want to be in a room with about 20 other great health and fitness experts who are growing their coaching businesses, and you want my on the spot, hands-on help to move your business forward, to help you get more clients, to get your mindset out of the gutter, to get it to the next level, this is a great opportunity to do so. So go to healthpreneurgroup.com/2DAY. So 2day. And if you meet the criteria, then you can just fill out the application and I will get back to you personally within 24 hours. So that's the second point, is you need to be surrounded by other great people. And that's why being at events or masterminds is extremely valuable. Even the worst events that I've been to were still extremely valuable, because sometimes you may meet one person who can change everything in your business. So that's the second thing. The third thing is, and this is gonna kind of tie back into the second thing, quite honestly. So a lot of people who are in the online space are moving down to Puerto Rico because there's this thing called Act 20 or Act 22 in the United States, which allows U.S. residents to move to Puerto Rico, set up their business down there, and they get amazing tax benefits. So I know about 20 people now who live down there. And as a Canadian, I don't know if it's as easy. So that's something I might look into. But here's the cool thing is, think about this. Imagine living in paradise and your next door neighbors are not only some of your best friends, but they're also crushing it in business. Can you imagine that? Like, I don't know anywhere else in the world that has that type of intentional community. And that's what these guys have created down there. And I'm not going to mention their names, so you don't need to stalk them, but these are people you've seen online. You've probably listened to their podcasts, you've seen them on TV, etc. And they have built an amazing community down in Puerto Rico. And, when we look at quality of life, right, we know that isolation and loneliness is actually a greater risk factor. It actually robs more years off your life than smoking does. That's how crazy this is. And when you look at being able to surround yourself and live in an area where every other night you're having a barbecue or get together, you're playing tennis several times a week, you're playing golf, hanging out, your kids go to the same school together, all this kind of stuff with other people who get you. That's pretty powerful. And I think just that alone, like regardless of the weather, regardless of the tax advantages, just being in that kind of environment can make huge, huge strides in your fulfillment, in your happiness, in your level of success. Now, again, I'm not saying you should move to Puerto Rico or you need to move houses or whatever. I live in Toronto. There are hundreds of amazing entrepreneurs in Toronto. Some of them are some of my best friends, but the reality is we don't see each other that often. We probably see each other more when we're traveling than we do in Toronto. And that's just the nature of the city. Like, you just really have to make it a point to get together. And, as best we try, it might be a couple times a year at most. Very different than if you're living beside your neighbor who's also your close friend and colleague. So I just thought it was really, really interesting. And again, I'll just kind of tie this back into the second point, is you need to do whatever you can to be immersed with people who are just living life and playing business at a higher level. Because most people, maybe even your closest friends and family, don't understand what you're doing. They're probably not supportive of you. And I say this, like some of our clients, I really feel bad for them because their husband or their spouse doesn't believe in what they're doing. And that is absolutely shocking. And like, how are you supposed to succeed when the person you spend the most time with in your life doesn't believe in what you're doing. And that's really unfortunate, and like that, I mean, it sucks. It's not cool to be in that kind of situation. So if that's the case, and even if it's not the case, even if you've got a supportive, close circle, you have to do whatever you can to get around other people that are just thinking bigger, playing bigger, because it forces you to raise your game. If I step on the court like last year, playing some 16 and 17-year-olds that absolutely kicked my ass, I am forced to get better to keep up with them. If I'm playing against my kids, obviously I can just, tap the ball over the net. I'm not improving. So I want you to continually think about how can I put myself in situations where I'm not necessarily the smartest person in the room, where I have the most to learn, where other people around me are playing at a bigger level. And I just think it's a really important message. So I'm really tying in point 2 and 3 pretty much together. They're kind of the same thing here. So on that note, again, I want to leave you with one invitation, and that is this. Listen, we've got, I think, 5 spots left for our Toronto Mastermind. And if I don't care where you live, I don't care if you live in Florida or if you live in LA, there are these amazing things called airplanes. I know, it's amazing, right? Like you can go to the airport and get on an airplane and fly to a different city or a different country. It's amazing how this works. And I just need to be very honest with you, because if building a business is a priority of yours, you need to do things to get into these environments. And whether it's our Toronto event or not, I don't care. But for the sake of this conversation, our Toronto Mastermind, 2 days, June 26th and 27th, I want to invite you. If you're a coach who's currently coaching clients and you want to scale your business, if you want to add an extra 10K or more per month to your business, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in 2 days. You're going to be surrounded by some other amazing people in the game of online coaching, and you're going to have dinner with us. You're going to have lunch with us. You're going to obviously be in the room and learning. You're going to connect, right? You're going to see what other people are doing. Your beliefs will be challenged. Like, oh my God, I didn't think that was possible. I could do this and I could do that. And again, I'm just going to hold your hand to the fire and I'm going to challenge you. Like, are you willing to get out of your comfort zone and join us in Toronto? Right? If you've been listening to this podcast for any length of time, obviously there's something that resonates with you about this, right? And I don't care what you have going on in June. I don't care what's going on like financially or whatever. Obviously, if you're in dire straits, don't come join us, because obviously you're not at the level to even qualify in the first place. But if your business is doing okay, you're generating some revenue, you got clients, you want to scale, then this will be a no-brainer. I'm going to be walking you through our $1 million model on the first day. And then the second day, you're going to be thrown in with a bunch of our existing clients, and you're going to learn some really cool higher level strategies. And again, you're going to get to meet everyone and connect with everyone and just move your thinking and beliefs to the next level. So if you want to learn more, healthpreneurgroup.com/2day. That's the number 2 and then DAY. Go to the page, check it out. We've got 5 spots left. If it makes sense for you, then apply to join us. The cost is very minimal. It's basically just covering our food and materials. We're making it super affordable for anyone to join. And again, like I'm gonna be very blunt. I can promise you that if you're not with us in Toronto, your business is gonna suffer. It's not gonna do as well than if you were with us in Toronto. I can promise you that. I don't know where you are in business. I don't know what you're up to, but I can guarantee that if you're trying to do things on your own, you will not get the same results as if you were with us in Toronto. So on that note, I'm going to finish off. I hope you have gotten some value out of today's episode, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. For now, head on over to healthpreneurgroup.com/2day. Have an amazing one. Continue to be great, do great, and I'll see you in the next episode. Hey, thanks so much for joining us on this episode of the Healthpreneur Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, here's what I'd like you to do right now. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Healthpreneur Podcast on iTunes. And while you're there, leave us a rating or review. It helps us get in front of more people and change more lives. And if you're ready to start or scale your health or fitness coaching business and want to start getting in front of more people, working with them at a higher level without trading time for money, then I invite you to check out our free 7-figure health business blueprint training. Totally free right now, and you can do so at healthpreneurgroup.com/training. For now, thank you so much for joining us. Continue to be great, do great, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.